Hello, my fellow readers. I, Dark Symphony 777, with our fanfiction reading. As always, a link to the story will be in the description. Please like, subscribe, and if you have your own opinion on what story you want me to review or read next, please leave it in a comment, as well as your own your thoughts and opinions on the story. As always, this story is my opinion, is not represented by the majority at large. So, the story I'm going to read is called The Lord of the Dunk! Written by Super Sylveon Silker. You must have a really big thing for Sylveon, because his profile picture is a very, very, very thick Sylveon. So it's an adventure suspense, and it's basically, from what I'm reading from the synopsis, it's basically just Frodo gets sent to Quahog and challenged by Joe Swanson in a game of basketball. I don't know. So let's get started. Joe Swanson, respected father, neighbor, police officer, full-time wheel chairman. I butchered that word so much. Wheel chairman, the finest wheel chairman in the country, nay, the world. That's actually a pretty funny image. It's like, we give you this medal for being the greatest wheelchair man in the country, nay, the world. Thank you very much, sir. I will give the people of Quahog my undisputed attention. And kick their asses! I don't know. And Joe knew it. He felt the looks of envy the fair citizens of the city of Quahog cast upon him. He gladly accepted their offers of respect, as they refused to hold the door for him and never pointed to the wheelchairman ramp. Everyone knew he could do it himself. They were pushing him forward, towards the ultimate goal of self-reliance. Push him into reality, a thing Joe had long been out. Sorry if I'm doing the weird voice. I'm trying to sound like Patrick Warburton. I know I'm completely ruining it, but I'm having fun here. Not everyone knows that wheelchairmen live in a world separate from the able people. Wheelchairmen can see and do things others can't. Special things. They can see stairs from miles away. Smell ramps from even farther. That line actually reminds me of the very first episode of SpongeBob. You remember that episode where SpongeBob becomes a member of the Krusty Krab, and the scene where all the buses circle around the Krusty Krab and they open it, and Mr. Krab's like, Mr. Krabs, what is it? That smell. The kind of smelly smell. The kind of smelly smells that smells smelly. Rams. What? Rams! Meep. Just picture it like that. I wish I could edit and just have the scene with Joe Swanson's face over Mr. Krabs and all the anchovies replaced by ramps. That'd be hilarious. Being confined to a wheelchair, a lot like being blind, Joe's former sensei had told him. When you use your legs, other senses become better. I'm pretty sure legs aren't a sense, unless you count feeling, like you feel with the soles of your feet. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not his sensei. Why his sensei had insisted on being by Joe's side during the Grinch incident was beyond him. Jedi worked in mysterious ways. Jedi? I haven't seen Family Guy in about 2018. Last time I saw Family Guy was 3 years ago. So I was like, for all I know, these are this is based off an episode. I know what I think the Grinch incident, I believe the Grinch incident is the episode where Joe goes after the person who gouted his legs, I guess. Unfortunately, a .500 rounded skull tends to end mystery with an explosive finish. Too explosive for Joe's taste, refined though they were. That's why he played b-ball with his son Kevin. It was important to repress your most traumatic memories. Talking about them made you seem weak. Something the Prince of b-ball could not be. Joe would not be weak. He would be the b-ball king. He would be b-ball. Okay. I accidentally put the, because I thought I saw the. He would be b-ball king, whatever it took. You're about to witness an effect of the lies of which has been seen since the American invasion of Iraq, Joe said. The wheelchair moved on his own, sending him... It's like he's holding the ball, it's like... It's like, how are you moving that wheelchair? I'm moving it with my mind. Ah, my legs! Now you see how it feels! The wheelchair moved on its own, sending him left as he dribbled the beautiful orange b-ball between his hands. Kevin fell to the ground, skin scratching against the pavement of the b-ball court. Joe smelled blood. He didn't care. Like any good king, he needed a court, and this one was his. His son was too sluggish to be a real king, too sloppy to rule effectively. He cared more about living people than he did the court. So it was Joe's job to take it right from his greasy, blood-stained hands. Joe smiled rebelliously. He was a revolutionary, a born freedom fighter. A born freedom fighter of the basketball court. What did he do like back in the day? Did he like grab basketballs and just like beat him over the head? No, wait, that was Peter's job. Heads up! Sorry, I'm getting way off topic right there. Like those that had gotten the better of Kevin during the war. Another weakness to capitalize on. You don't stand a chance, my court boy. It's not over yet, Dad, Kevin replied, amusingly. He still thought that this was a friendly game of b-ball. Such a fool. As he continued dribbling and wheeling himself towards the hoop, Kevin tried to knock Joe to the ground. The final gasp of an ineffective regime. Joe took the b-ball in both hands and, with the might he mustered after years of being a police officer, slammed it down on Kevin's head. I didn't see that coming. A sickening crack sounded through the neighborhood as Kevin's skull split open, exposing his delicate brain to the world. Blood welled from the disposed king's head, drooling lazily through his hair and onto the pavement. The b-ball king smiled, shaking the ball in both hands, raising it above his head, and took the shot. The b-ball sailed through the air and sunk through the net. The orange globe fell to the pavement, bounced once, twice, and then came to a rest at Joe's feet. He was King B-Ball. I honestly don't know if the King B-Ball stuff is like a grammar error or is that intentionally. I'm leaning towards the latter because it sounds right, but at the same time it just sounds off. I don't know. The author can tell me what if King B-Ball is supposed to be like that or is the King of B-Ball. Oh yeah! He shouted, "I'm the b-ball master! Are you proud of me now, Hirohito Sensei?" He pumped his arms in the hair and did a sick wheelie over Kevin's warm corpse. Don't worry, he'll be alive next episode. Drunk stares from his aghast neighbors. Even Peter Griffin, professional ladder thief and fat man, was cowering. None of them mattered now. They wouldn't dare call the police. Joe, king of the b-ball court, was the police. I need police. I am police. They could do nothing to stop him. He was too powerful. Nothing and no one could best a man in a wheelchair. Sorry. That's okay. I'm trying not to laugh. I'm trying very hard not to laugh. I'm failing, obviously, but I'm trying. Sorry, just woke up. I want to do this video before my little brother got back. You know what? I'm muting this one time. Muted it. Doing a video now. I'm tired of every time I do a video, there's always some distraction. I want to do this video, so let me just finish this, and then I'll answer back. Okay, so where was I? Oh, here I was. Frodo Baggins tramped across the soft, springy grass around his home in the Shire. I'm honestly not familiar with Lord of the Rings. I just literally did this on roulette. Okay. More than a few years have passed since Bilbo Baggins' unexpected departure, leaving Frodo the last Baggins in all the Shire. He was lonely, terribly so. His friends moved on with life at such a pace Frodo could not keep up with. They were much too busy to visit their supposed friend in Bag End. Not even Sam had dropped by. A shame, really. The plump hobbit missed out on Frodo getting his ring. Smooth, shiny gold. It was a perfect addition to any jewelry collection. The Saxville Bagginesses would have a fit, knowing he owned such a valuable item. Perhaps I should wear it around the Shire. Make them even more jealous of my fabulous wealth, Frodo thought, kicking a pebble with his right foot. Surely Bilbo would approve, if he were here. But Gandalf gave him an explicit warning against wearing the ring, didn't he? The old man mumbled through his beer so much it was nearly impossible to understand him. I don't know, I'm pretty sure he was pretty easy to yell when he yelled, "You shall not pass!" I'm pretty sure his beard didn't get in the way of that. If it wasn't for the raw power the wizard gained from the beard... I don't know what was about that sentence that made me laugh. He gains power from his beard? Really? Then I shall grow a beard. Yeah, I have a beard now. Magicus beardicus. Nothing's happening because beards don't make magic. This is just like the Daisy reading I did for Super Smash Brothers when I just couldn't stop laughing uncontrollably over the sheer hilarity, unintentional or not. Okay, here we go. Frodo was sure he would shaved it off long ago. Frodo walked back to his home, hand shoved in his pockets, grabbing for the ring. Alright. Just checking to see if I'm pretty sure my mom butt dialed me. Okay. Frodo walked back to his home, hand shoved in his pockets, grabbing for the ring. It wasn't there, he knew that, but did it anyway. It was on the mantel above the fireplace, tucked inside the envelope Bilbo originally pasted in. He had no reason for wearing this ring before. He could swear the ring was calling to him, begging for him to put it on. But rings couldn't do that, as Frodo knew. No object in the world could. Why should they? Frodo walked through the round door Bag End and snagged the envelope off the mantel. He tore it open and snuck his dirty and little index finger into the creamy envelope, taking the ring out from his white prison. Freedom! Frodo threw the envelope aside, molesting the ring in his palm. Ew. Would it even fit? Bilbo was a heavy habit. The tub of lard never got out of bed without his customary 3-layer morning cake. He needn't have worried. Like a desperate man measuring his girlfriend's hand as she slept. Ew. Creepy. The ring knew the size of his stubby grease fingers. Shrunk down in his palm. When Frodo compared the ring size to his finger, it was perfect. I'll show them all. The Bagginesses are not to be messed with ever again. The ring slipped onto Frodo's finger in a flash of light. In the flash of brilliant light. My bad. He was gone. Joe took his lunch out of the veranda. Such a beautiful day to succeed. The birds sang their shrill moaning song. The lizards bowed their heads in respect to the new B-Ball King. Ants avoided Joe's home. They knew the power he held. They would not dare enter his home ever again. It had taken far more coaxing than necessary to get Bonnie to make his lunch. They didn't have maids yet, so Bonnie had to do it until then. Every queen had to pull her share when times were tough. I didn't dismiss the pain in his knuckles, though. The plate was covered with an extravagant meat. Well, not extravagant anymore. T-bone steaks would become commonplace in his B-Ball kingdom. A sign of things to come. A symbol of power and prestige. With its mighty sidekick, beans of assorted shapes and colors. T-bone steaks would be the gasoline of his realm. They would fuel him with the holy energy required to play b-ball, to rise where others have failed. To rise where others fail. I have no idea where that last sentence came from. He dug in, sinking his teeth into the meat. It was far too tough for his taste. Well done. He would have to teach Bonnie how to cook steak properly. Perfection is required in the kingdom of Joe. Not allowing the beans to go to waste. He ate them all. He then placed the stick on the ground. Come to me, dear subjects. This is a feast Feast for rich and poor alike. Your kings love you. So long as you remain loyal and true to mind, you shall find a place here in my kingdom. Animals from every direction. Birds, lizards, ants, skinks. Skinks? S-K-I... Skinks? The hell are skinks? Oh, that's a skink. Never knew that. Huh. They're like little... They're... Huh. I never heard of skinks before. Hey, Sylveon. Thanks for teaching me something new. I never heard of skinks before. Skunks, cats, dogs. They all flocked to the stake. It was quite a sight to behold. Joe never knew his kingdom was so diverse. That could present trouble later on. His mandatory police training had taught him anything. Minorities were nothing but trouble. Best to put them down soon, lest they grow half a mind like those Black Lives Matter people. Hey! Nice burn! My liege, a small orange bird said as it approached, bowing to him as it landed. Speak, bird, I shall hear your word. Yes, lord. The bird took a deep breath before continuing. There is a tiny baby man approaching from the southwest. He seeks to undermine your rightful place as king through his mad ravings. A baby man. Undermine thee, Jew Swanson, king of B-Ball. He needed to resolve this quickly, make sure none of his subjects heard the bird's work. Thankfully, the bird flew away without spreading word. Small miracles from the most loyal subjects. Joe pulled his Glock from his jockstrap. So he reached down his pants to his groin where his gun and pulled out a gun. Only in fan fiction well, it's Family Guy, so I kind of saw this kind of coming. The weapon of a policeman, not one of a king. It would have to do. He killed many a man with his weapon, but he hoped to forgive such things of the past. Eduardo would have been proud. No time to dwell on that. He needed to act to keep his throne. He wheeled off his porch and into the yard, his hand brushing past stray blades of grass that had grown too long. If he were a weaker man, the grass would prove an obstacle to unimpaired wheelchairman movement, but not to Joe. He had the strength of 4 Indian elephant riders. And much like an elephant rider, he could ride through the grass like an elephant through the armies of Alexander. Joe refocused. The smallest things could distract him. Such a silly goose he was. He switched the safety off his Glock, his index finger lingering about the trigger. He was going to bleed this tiny baby man dry with his gun if he had to. No one undermines his tone. Something popped out of a nearby bush. Joe spun on it, gun ready to fire, but hesitated. It was a mere boy. Dark, curly hair worn down to his shoulders, a stout body, a face that had never seen hair. Yes, this was just a boy. Perhaps the tiny baby man the bird had mentioned. He wore the clothes of an Amish man. Make earlier. Who are you, trespasser? You step upon lands mean for the king, B-Ball king and his subjects. I do not know you, Joe said. The boy's feet were awfully hairy. Unusual. No boy has such hairy feet. I'm a Frodo Baggins from the Shire. A Hobbit, the boy replied in a deep voice. This was no boy, but the man. Well, a half man. I came by accident. I meant not to intrude upon your lands, sire. I simply wished free passage. Perhaps some help as well. I've never seen such a whimsical building before. He looked over at Joe's house. Whimsical. This was the palace of the B-Ball king. And what was that of the Shire place? There is no place called Shire in this world. An extraterrestrial, and not like they haven't dealt with extraterrestrial. Oh! You're in Quahog, Rhode Island, half-man. You currently stand on the land of the B-Ball king. The half-man's expression melted to gloom at this. And who might this B-Ball king be? I would very much like to gain his favor. Perhaps he would know how to return me home. Why, this ignorant fool, Joe thought. Not only does he not know how to go home, he doesn't know the king of B-Ball. I am the king of B-Ball. Greatest wheelchair man and B-Ball man in the world. Looking Frodo over. I'm sorry if I'm switching voices. It's actually pretty fun doing the random voices at random times. Look at Frodo over. Joe placed his hand on his massive cleft chin and thought. The Hobbit looked to be a good slave stock. A challenge might be in order, according to B-Ball Law 1.492. One could only be forced into slavery after losing a match. Mr. Frodo, I do not know your alignment, but I may be able to help you on your way. The B-Ball King does nothing without a price. I require a taste of your abilities. The Hobbit looked at him, eyes full of hope. Really? Yes, but we must set battle on the greatest of battlefields. The B-Ball Court! Joe gestured and Frodo gasped. I'm sorry. This is so unintentionally hilarious. It's literally just reminding me of the Smash Brothers reading. I just couldn't stop laughing. It's making me laugh less, but it's still funny. The court was a gorgeous sight to the uninitiated. Even Joe was impressed when he first laid eyes on it, though the novelty has since worn off. Beautiful oak wood splayed across the B-Ball King's backyard, painted with intricate strokes of red and white paint to denote the outer bounds and 3-point lines. And the hoops, oh the hoops, never in the history of mankind has such hoops been built. Intricately carved steel supported the plastic, hollow hoops that adorned each end of the court. Such beauty, such color. Bob Ross couldn't have hoped for more color. Sorry. Bob Ross couldn't have hoped for a more colorful palette from which to work from. If only he could see it now. The two adversaries strode over, feet and wheels touching the hardwood simultaneously. It was here that great battles for Earth were truly fought, not in the mighty sand wastes of Iraq or the expensive plains of Europe, but here, the B-Ball King's Court. That'd actually be pretty funny. It's like, we challenge you to war, okay? Name your price. Basketball. You're on! Iraq versus America. Winner gets to get rid of the terrorists. Sorry, that just gave me a pretty hilarious image, that one group of sentences. Mr. Frodo of the Shire, I wish to place upon you the terms and conditions of our rule. In this wager, I will gracefully surrender my knowledge of interdimensional travels were I to lose. Merely a formality, I know I shan't. I would have you swear fealty to me, the King of B-Ball. You shall serve in peace or war, in living or dying, from your defeat on until death take thee. The Hobbit placed his hand on his chin, thoughtlessly molesting the large, bulbous, leaking wart on the corner of his lip. He clearly didn't like the idea of having to swear fealty to the B-Ball crown, but with no other options to get home, how could he refuse? Fine, Frodo said. I accept. My dream of returning home to a beautiful Shire, resting your meaty palms, King of B-Ball. Very good, Joe replied. He scooped nearby B-Ball into his regal fist and bounced it off the wood. That should be B-Balls. One grammar error. And bounced it off the wood, getting a feel for it. Been far too long since the last time he played. 30 minutes is a large gap. And again, if you're addicted to it, I don't know. The Hobbit might have the advantage after all. You understand the rules of the game, Mr. Frodo. This must be a game even you and the Shire play, yes. We do indeed. It is a sport of skill and honor. Much is it here? The Hobbit replied. Good, I will have you know, however, that we here in Quahog play to 5 points. The first person to reach such a lofty score is the victor this day. I wish you luck, though you must know it serves only the truest of baseball players, me. Very well. The two retreated to separate ends of the court, as per tradition. The one who challenges receives the ball first, and Joe was more than eager to start the game. Prepare yourself, little man, for I shall execute a move straight out of the art of war. Burn soldiers in their camp! Joe burned rubber, moving with the speed never thought possible by a wheelchair man. The look on Frodo's face was enough to confirm Joe's true speed. Fast. Sorry. The Hobbit's defenses wasn't enough against the speed of the B-Ball King. Too slow, much like Kevin. Joe knocked the small man to the floor, wheeling as fast as he could to the basket before sinking one well-placed shot. A satisfying swish rang out across the neighborhood. 2 points for the B-Ball King. His neighbors poured out of their homes at the sound. They knew to come and watch and cheer on their king. They were good subjects. With a grunt, the Hobbit picked himself off the ground, his arm dripping blood. "This will not go unpunished, B-Ball King," he said, icy blue eyes locking with Joe's. Joe rolled his eyes in amusement and passed him the ball. He caught it in one hand. This half-man was much more skilled than he let on. Only those with a power level of 1,000 or more. So what did Joe randomly get like a scouter? It's like his basketball skill must be over 1,000. Time to step up my game. Wait, when does this become Dragon Ball? I don't know. Joe was still far ahead of him, of course. No need to worry. No need to worry. You are the king of B-Ball for a reason, Joe thought, taking up a defensive position around his hoop. Frodo bounced the ball twice between his chimney sweeper hands. It was comically large compared to him. Do hobbits play with smaller balls in the Shire Frodo had spoken of? A humorous thought. How can you not play with balls this size? Sylvian, why? That innuendo. Running forward, the half-man dribbled the ball between both his hands, crossing the court in mere seconds. Speedy for one without a wheelchair. Staying near the hoop is the best defense, Joe thought. But Frodo did not stray near. He stopped at the 3-point line, bouncing the ball over and over again, taunting the B-Ball King. Why, that insolent hobbit! How dare he offend Joe Swanson in such a manner? Joe wheeled towards Frodo, callous hands violently gripping the slippery rubber of his wheelchair's wheels. It felt like they were going to pop in his grip like a mouse's body between a bench vise. Fortunately, they did not. Unfortunately, the half-man managed to squeeze out a shot. The ball soared through the air. The sun shining off it was, and went straight down through the hoop. 3 points. 3 whole points to a man smaller than Joe. Go, Frodo! A man less regal than him. His blood boiled. His breathing grew heavy and fast. It was time for a smackdown. Okay, I'm pretty sure my mom butt dialed me. Joe slammed the big red button on his right armrest of his wheelchair, and his enormous booster engine sprung from the chair. Flames erupted from within. His stomach lurched as he barreled towards Frodo at the speed of ludicrous. Speed of sound. A grin on his face. The little man was clutching his ears at the deafening sound the machine made, leaving him wide open. Joe threw the orange B-ball at him, bouncing it off the hobbit's head. It came right back to the king of B-ball, like a boomerang or a man whose family you'd taken hostage. Joe snatched it out of the air with his hamburger hands. Frodo was lying in a heap on the ground as Joe passed, a small pool of blood forming around him. He was still alive, breathing heavily, but the wound looked much worse than it probably was. That should teach him not to be so defiant in the face of monarchical dominance. The king of B-Ball always wins B-Ball matches. With the skill bestowed upon him by the B-Ball gods, Joe threw the ball up against the hardwood. It bounced off, flying round and around the rim like a satanic merry-go-round. Except Lucifer wasn't staring in his horse race. All the ball needed was devotion to Joe Swanson, B-Ball King, to enter the succulent hole that was the cloth hoof of baskets. 2 more points. 4 points for the B-Ball King, 3 for the offensive little man. 1 more and Joe required a new slave. Lovely thoughts. Lovely thoughts indeed. Frodo Baggins was slow to rise, nose throbbing and arm searing in pain. Blood poured from both. This B-Ball King had delivered one dastardly beatdown, and boy did it smart. Time for payback. Frodo reached into the deepest, darkest parts of his mind, past all the collection, choking fetish videos clogging the frontal lobe. Wait, what? They have internet in Lord of the Rings? I don't know. Past the memories of mom and dad violently skinning a live gecko, and past even the Frodo's deepest, most heinous desire at all. marrying Sam, his dearest friend and companion, the heart of the One Ring. But that wasn't important now. Frodo grabbed the bit of the Hobbit law he retained from community college, ripping them free of his mind. In one meaty paw, he clutched a piece of blood out of crushed parchment. Wait, what? Frodo wiped the brain matter away and read aloud to the B-Ball King. Those who harm their fellows shall be harmed thrice as hard, he declared. His Majesty stared down at Frodo. That condescending, evil stare. It was time to wipe it away. Joe bounced the ball to him. Frodo caught it in both hands, dropping the parchment onto the wooden planks of the court. Once the B-Ball King was in position, he rushed the deformed man, faster than he had even thought had ever been before, more nimble than a thimble. More powerful than Gandalf the Grey. Why am I still talking in Joe Swanson's voice? I don't know. He was one with the B-Ball, and he was one with him. Frodo smacked the big man's legs with the ball, pushing him back towards the hoop. You know your attacks on my legs do nothing. It certainly won't stop me from winning Shirling. From winning Shirling. One wrong move and it's all over for you. I know, Frodo reported resistantly, heroically. He caught the ball again and threw it into the king's head, forcing him back even more. Underneath the hoop, it was time to execute his master plan. Summoning all the power he could muster, Frodo jumped towards the hoop, flipping and twisting in the air. The world around him faded. It was just him, the ball, and the hoop. Then he brought the hoop down through the hoop. God dang it, I goofed myself. Brought the ball down through the hoop, my bad. And the world returned with an ear-rupturing snap. The rim broke. Frodo's strength too much for the suddenly frail piece of metal. The sound shattered the backboard, raining fragments of glass down on Joe and Frodo as he fell towards the king, smashing the orange ball into Joe's head. Joe's skull. Go, Frodo! A crack rang out across the B-Ball King's land as his skull split open. Blood spewed from the popped pimple that was his head. The look of surprise on the wheelchair man's face. And the wheelchair man. Yeah, either make it wheelchair man's face or just get rid of the apostrophe S and make it wheelchair man. As Frodo reveals his ultimate power move that was almost enough to satisfy Frodo's quest for vengeance. Almost. He followed through, forcing the ball through Joe's head and into his neck, where it finally came to rest. What remained of his brain matter fell out of his former head like melting leper. Blood coated the surrounding area. Frodo's own clothing stained with tangy red liquid. Brain and bone alike painted the court like a 5-year-old's brilliant mind expressing itself upon a piece of paper. Frodo stumbled backwards, jumping in Joe's scarlet icture. He done it. He beaten the B-Ball King in his own game, and killed the one man who knew the way back to the Shire. But the sense of accomplishment and pride could not be ignored. It pushed him to say something grand, something inspirational, something that historians would look back on and say, wow, this Hobbit was pretty fucking cool. Why is there like a completely random mid-sentence capitalization in fucking, I don't know. He sucked in a sweet breath of quahog air. He regaled his fallen foe, turns toward the small crowd of wacky, lovable characters that had Galen doing the droll, and he spoke. Joe Swanson got fucking dunked on! What a way to end it! That was... Oh, that's pretty funny. I like this story. I know. I would honestly switch. I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, it's like part of me wants me to change one of the genres to like comedy because it's like, but the other half of me keeps telling me, Devin, that's unintentional humor. Except for the innuendo and the last sentence. That was pretty hilarious. Hey. I saw no grammar errors except for that one at the end. Except for that one at the end, the wheelchair man's face. That one, that's literally it. Yeah, the look of surprise on the wheelchair man's face. Again, either add a face or just get rid of the apostrophe S. That make both would work. But other than that, well, and this weird mid-word capitalization, I found it kind of weird. But other than that, I actually liked the story. I found it honestly, just like the Smash Brothers one I did, unintentionally hilarious because, it's the fate of the world over basketball. I can't really say anything about much because scaling, I actually give this a 4 out of 5. Probably, maybe a 4.5. Simply because I actually really liked it. Sure, it doesn't have suspense. It doesn't have that much suspense until like the very end, but it's like I'll leave it, but I can't see anything really wrong with the story. So this has been Dark Symphony with his review on The Lord of the Dunk. And I will see you next time, and